Not less, just different. Matthew and Catherine were filled with joy when their son was born. But that joy quickly turned into confusion and fear. The doctors told them their child, Kevin, had a physical disability that would affect his ability to walk and speak like other children. The room fell silent. Relatives came with sympathy, but not hope. Some whispered, "This will be a lifelong burden." Others said, "Why did God allow this?" As Kevin grew, the world did not become kinder. Children in the neighborhood stared at him. Some laughed, some avoided him, not knowing about his situation. Even at family gatherings, people would speak kindly to Matthew and Catherine, but Kevin was getting ignored as if he didn't fully belong. Catherine would often hold her son at night and quietly cry, "Lord, why my child?" Matthew, though strong on the outside, struggled inside. He worried about Kevin's future, his dignity. But one thing they decided early: they would not let the world define their child. When Kevin turned 6, Matthew and Catherine decided to admit him to a nearby school. But the meeting in the school didn't go as they expected. The school staff looked at Kevin, then after a brief discussion, one of them said gently, "We are sorry. We don't have the facilities for the child like him." Outside the school gate, Catherine broke down. "He just needs a chance. That's all," she cried. Matthew stood there helpless. That day changed something. Matthew went home in silence. That night, he knelt down and prayed like never before along with his wife. "Lord, if the world closes the door for him, you open one. Show us why you gave him to us." Their prayers became deeper from that day onwards, not just asking why, but asking what next. Catherine began teaching Kevin at home, patiently, one word at a time. Matthew spent more time with him, encouraging every small step. Progress was slow, painfully slow. There were days Kevin couldn't say a word clearly, days he fell while trying to walk. But every night they still prayed. A few years later, a small local church organized a children's gathering. Matthew and Catherine took Kevin. When the children were invited to come forward and say something, Kevin insisted on going. Catherine hesitated. "What if they laugh?" she whispered. But Matthew said, "Let him try." Kevin walked slowly to the front, with effort, with trembling steps. The room grew quiet. With broken but determined words, he said, "God loves everyone." It wasn't smooth. It wasn't perfect, but it was powerful. Some in the room had tears in their eyes because they didn't just hear words, they saw courage. That moment became a turning point. Kevin didn't suddenly become like other children, but something changed. People began to see him differently. As he grew older, he started sharing small messages of hope in gatherings, schools, and prayer meetings. He would say things in simple ways. "If I can smile, you can also smile. God made me like this, but He is with me." And people listened. Parents who once hid their struggling children found courage. Young people who felt weak found strength. What the world once rejected began to inspire. One evening, Catherine watched Kevin speaking to a small group of parents and children. The same kind of people they once were, confused, broken, searching. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "God, we asked you to fix him," she whispered, "but you used him to heal and encourage others." Matthew stood beside her and said softly, "The world saw a limitation. God saw a purpose." Listen, rejection can feel like the end, but in God's hand, it can become the beginning of something greater. What the world refuses, God can use to touch many lives. A life that seems weak can carry the strongest message. "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." 2 Corinthians 12:9. This video is inspired by many true stories. based on what I have personally seen and witnessed. God has filled my heart with a deep burden to share this message to encourage families and children who are fighting invisible battles. To the parents navigating these struggles with your little ones, do not lose hope. When the world rejects, God redeems. When society sees weakness, God builds strength. No matter how dark the days get or how slow the progress seems, remember this: God is with you. He has not forgotten your family, and He has a beautiful purpose for your child. This is dedicated to all the children and the families going through this. May this story bring you the strength to keep going.